Here's a question and a valid problem that I'm often faced with in the comments to this YouTube channel as well as in everyday life, is how do I keep myself and Hunter, and also Juniper, because the cat also camps with us sometimes, pest-free in the wilderness? Now, it's a valid question because all pests are different, so you have to deal with them differently, and so I've got a couple of tips and tricks up my sleeve. Stay tuned, hit like and subscribe, and by the end of this video I will have you pest-free in the wilderness. I'm Clarice, welcome to the Live Ready channel. Where are you gonna go now, hey? Don't you just love it when you've just squatted in the bush and you're like halfway through doing your business and you look on the ground and there are these ticks that are literally running to you? Like, I've seen it. Yeah, we can talk about stuff like that on this channel, that's fine. I've seen it happen, and to be honest with you, there's a lot of things that we can do to keep the ticks at bay, and in that moment you kind of want to just ask them, just a minute, I'm busy with something else at the moment. But they don't wait for us, and spiders, scorpions, snakes, ticks, mosquitoes, flies. Oh my gosh, the horse flies. I have had all my days with horse flies in the wilderness. Best tip that I've gotten, I'm going to start with this one, is if you find that there are a whole lot of midges in an area, try and move to a different area. That's tip number one, is because I was walking around here earlier and I was looking for a place to pitch this little camp, and I thought to myself, why are there midges all over? And you know what, I just thought to myself, there is no way that I'm going to put up with the midges for the entire day and for the rest of my camp and for the rest of my days. Like, I don't want to deal with them. So I think selecting your campsite correctly, first of all, or where you are actually moving in the wilderness, is probably one of the best tips I can give you. If you find that there are a whole lot of ants and things around, or you're on an ant nest, just move. But there are also times when we can't move, or when we can't avoid the mosquitoes because they're everywhere, or we can't avoid the ticks because they're also everywhere. So how do I make sure that ticks, first of all, don't come home with me? There are a couple of things that I do. For Hunter also. So he gets a Brevecto every 3 months, but because he is all over the ground all the time, he tends to still pick up ticks on his coat. So for that, and for me, for him and for me, I put Frontline spray on both of us. So I actually brought it along to show it to you. This is what it looks like. This is a nice big bottle. So for him, because he gets a Brevecto, Frontline spray is really safe. So the cat also gets this one. It works perfectly for her. It doesn't work by itself for Hunter because he's got such a thick, shaggy coat. So that's why I give him a Brevecto. And then I just spray the bottom of him and his legs and so with Frontline spray, so that and this is why Frontline spray is nice, is because it repels ticks, fleas, and what else? Mites. Yeah, ticks, fleas, and mites before they've even had to bite the animal or you. The only thing about it is you can't wash the skin that you're applying it to for about 3 days. It works by being transferred through the oils of the skin. So for dogs or for cats or even for human beings, please bath. Don't not bath for 3 days just so you can spray yourself with Frontline spray. You actually need to apply this to skin that hasn't been washed with soap for 3 days. So I have actually sprayed this on myself. I've sprayed it on my clothing before. It doesn't last much past a day, and if the ticks are really aggressive in an area, then sometimes I've still found them on my clothing, which is another point that I'm going to get to in a moment. But as far as spraying something on your body goes, there is one other product in the market. I know the Agrimark sells it, and I know the farmers always buy it up because it's also something that you just spray on your clothing. But Frontline spray actually goes on your skin, and it works through the animal's skin and it works through your skin. All right, so as far as the dog goes, he gets Brevecto and he gets Frontline spray, and I also spray myself with Frontline spray. I think also just in the process of spraying the dog and the cat, by the time I'm done, I'm so full of Frontline spray that I've had my dose too. It is very safe to use, so it's great to also use in conjunction with other things. Then, for as far as your clothing goes, because clothing tends to be our first barrier to anything that goes around in the wilderness, I always tuck my shirt in, not just because I like to look pretty, but also because I have found that when I don't tuck my shirt in, I tend to find that the ticks actually come off on me and they go up my pants and under my shirt. And the same goes for where your trousers and your shoe meets. So very often what I'll do is I'll actually tuck my trousers into my sock and then into my shoe also. So if you've seen me walking around the bush looking like that and you thought that I look funny, there was a good reason for it. So you can actually just tuck your clothing into such a degree that you create a full-on barrier from toe to your neck, or to where your shirt actually opens, or to your sleeves. And that also wards off especially ticks. Now, with our clothing these days, I mean, these are Fjällräven pants and this is a Craghoppers shirt. Now, some of the clothing, especially the Craghoppers Nazi Life range, so they've got two ranges. They've got Nazi Life and they've got Nazi Defense. And the Nazi Life is a fabric that's treated with permethrin. You can also use permethrin. You can spray your own clothes with permethrin too. So it's actually freely available. You can buy it online or so and you can treat your clothing with it. The issue that I have just using it around the house is that it's poisonous to animals. So be careful when you do treat your clothes with it. So Nazi Life has been treated with permethrin in advance, and the Nazi Defense fabrics are ones that just have such a fine weave that the insects like mosquitoes can't actually penetrate it, so they can't bite you through that fabric. I have found that the mozzies sometimes get me through my Craghoppers clothing even when it is relatively new. The Nazi Life sometimes repels mozzies, or at least it repels most of the mozzies. Ticks don't tend to bite me through it, and thickened fabrics like these Fjällräven pants have a really thick fabric, so they don't tend to bite me through the fabrics. I've never actually had a mozzie bite me through a Fjällräven pair of trousers, but I have been bitten by mozzies through Craghoppers trousers. So the ideal, I would think, is to have a fabric that's relatively thick so that the insect can't bite you through it, and then treat that fabric with permethrin if it hasn't already been treated with permethrin. Usually it's something that you can just spray onto the clothing. I think it has to be wet. I can't remember if I'm now mixing up permethrin spray and nick wax. But anyway, just read the instructions on the bottle, and you can buy it online. The other advantage of permethrin spray is you can use it in a shelter, you can use it on your sleeping bag or on your tarp, you can use it on your bag and on your gear in general. When it comes to keeping ticks and insects out of your shelter, there are also a couple of options. The one is sitting by a smoky fire like I'm doing now. Insects tend not to like smoke. The only problem with that is you're also smoking yourself and the dog out of the shelter the whole time. And it gets to you eventually. Like you start ending up with a scratchy throat, your eyes start burning. It's not good for your skin. It's not good for you to inhale smoke from a fire the whole time. So you can use it to smoke out. Let's say you've built a debris shelter in the bush. Oh, go away, bug. Of all the videos to come and bug me on. Let's say you've built a debris shelter in the bush and it's been left standing there for a while, and now you're returning to a debris shelter and you want to just make sure that you're getting rid of all of the insects and the things in that debris shelter. You can take a smoking log or a bit of smoking grass, just get it to smolder sort of like this fire is doing at the moment, and then just take the smoking bit of grass or whatever into the shelter and just smoke it out completely. That'll also drive insects out to a reasonable degree. Just be sure that you don't end up lighting your debris shelter. Further to shelters, you could also go and construct a shelter that just basically keeps all the insects out. I think for that reason, largely that's why we like tents, is because they're an enclosed shelter that's got a nice no-see mesh or whatever that keeps the bugs out. But sometimes you also just want to experience the wilderness at a more raw and intimate level, and you want to sleep in a tarp shelter, you want to bivvy on the ground, and you don't want the scorpions and the spiders and the whatever to climb into your clothing or into your shelter. Speaking about climbing into your clothing, especially the scorpions, they tend to seek body heat, and snakes also, they tend to seek body heat. I know of someone who built who built a bed on the ground, and they were sort of sleeping in their debris bed and sort of felt something moving underneath them, and after a couple of days this thing started bugging them, and they sort of lifted up the debris of their bed and there was a puff adder that had been staying in the bed with them that whole time. Interesting thing about puff adders, they did a study about them, and like I think it was only 1 out of 3 times do they actually bite when stepped on, because they think they're so well camouflaged that they don't actually strike at you, so they just pretend not to have been stepped on. But they can still actually move into your shelter, and for that reason it's nice to keep a clear, uncluttered shelter so that you can see if there is any movement. But in some instances we do need to build a bed of pine needles or of foliage or whatever. I often do it because I don't go sleeping in the bush with an inflatable mattress. You can do that, but I tend to not like inflatable things for the wilderness because they don't last. So whenever I go camping, whether it's with a tent or just bivvying in a tarp shelter, I usually build a nice forest bed underneath my tarp. So I'll go and I'll take all the pine needles and all the grass and whatever, put a nice thick layer of it down, and then pitch my tent either above that, or pitch my tarp shelter, or put my sleeping bag on top of that. So now how do you keep the bugs out of that? So then you start again looking at like the permethrin spray, or smoking it out, or just keeping it clear and uncluttered, and just changing the foliage every day can also help. As far as the scorpions go, they're quite a challenge. It's kind of better to not go looking for them unless you're hungry. You can eat them, but unless you're hungry, like, don't go looking for the scorpions. Don't take your purple light and go search for them, because you get a hell of a fright at how many scorpions there are actually in your shelter. And then again, that also helps you to remove them. So depending on what kind of a fright you want to get, like, don't shine the black light or the purple light or the whatever to look for them. You can also just take your sleeping bag and close it right up to your face when you are sleeping at night, so that you are completely covered by your sleeping bag and it's only your face that shows. Again, it creates a barrier similar to like hooking your clothing, because these pants actually have like a little hook that you can hook onto your shoelace also, so it doesn't ride up. You can like tuck your pants into your socks, tuck your shirt into your trousers. Try and make sure that you are aware of what's happening on your wrists, and try and make sure that you're aware of what's happening in your shelter. Then there are also products that help us to sleep in a tarp shelter with less concealment, with less coverage, and that also just allow us to immerse ourselves in the environment without having the excess insects access us. Now this is a triangle net. Who made this? C2 Summit makes it. Okay, it's a triangle net. I was kind of disappointed when I bought it actually. I've used it maybe 3 or 4 times. The reason why is I think it's kind of silly that it's open at the bottom. So when you buy these, if you are going to check them, I actually have seen nice ones on Temu that are closed at the bottom, that have like a base at the bottom. So you can use something like this triangle net. It's also, I think only one side of it is actually, so that's like a long side. Oh, I'm gonna open it up here. That's like the long side to it, and this is like the short side, so I can go and just attach it here and make for myself like a mozzie net. Oh, that wasn't a very good attachment. Let's try that again. Okay, so I can go ahead and I can go and attach it like this, and then I've got some undercover space. And I think for mosquitoes, especially if you really have to sleep outside of a shelter in a malaria infested area, then this is a good idea. It's even a good idea for in the house. Note that where it touches your leg here, the mozzies are actually going to get you through the mesh. As soon as it touches your skin, like, they can get through that. If they can get through my pants, they can get through the mesh. But at least it gives you a little bit more covering and concealment. And I mean, you can go and stake this out. I can get into and out of that quite quickly. If I stake it down nicely and I put some sand over it, I might even be able to keep the ticks out. It's an option, you know, it's an added extra for your shelter. It's better than nothing, but yeah, I think that not having a floor actually makes it less effective. Maybe I should actually just sew a floor onto it, and then I'll probably use it more often as well. It would also help if it just had like one more little binding over there so you can lift it up, sort of like you would the back of a tarp shelter. Also just being aware of the area that you move into. So if you are going into a malaria area, then know that you must have like a staunch mosquito net with you. If you know that you're going to have to deal with all the midges, then get yourself the head net that goes over your hat, and get a nice hat that lifts it up as well, so it's not against your face the whole time, because they can be so annoying, midges, oh my word. And horseflies, oh, and they sting so sore. Quite effective for horseflies actually is citronella spray. And that tends to be quite safe. You can usually find it at the pharmacy. And I have actually in the past, knowing that in summer up in the mountains here, the horseflies can be so annoying. So what I've done in the past is I've sprayed myself with Frontline, that takes care of the ticks. And then I've left it a little while, and then I go and I like proper drench myself in citronella spray, because that keeps the flies and the horseflies at bay. It even helps a bit for the midges. But yeah, sometimes you just have to actually move out of the area of where they are, because if there is something that's drawing midges, they're just going to bug the daylights out of you. That wasn't an intended pun. Can you just imagine what it must have been like being in Egypt during the 10 plagues? Can you imagine like all of the frogs and the flies, and it's just like it must have been absolute chaos. And sometimes our life can also feel like that. It can just be like absolute chaos. Everything is just going wrong. And sometimes we can be as much under the attack of the animals and the bugs and the pests in the environment, in the natural, as we can be under spiritual attack. So if you've lately felt like things just keep going wrong and there's always something annoying that's going on, consider that perhaps you've been under spiritual attack. And we see that in Egypt with the 10 plagues. Moses warned Pharaoh. He said, you have a chance to let go of God's people here. You've got a chance to set yourself free from what's coming. And he didn't listen. And there was a spiritual price that he had to pay, and it manifested in the natural. And that can happen in our lives as well. Sometimes the spiritual things, the spiritual attack we're under, it manifests in our natural life. There's also quite a few things that you can burn in the wilderness, depending on the area that you're in. You can burn different plants that would give off a smoke that helps you to actually drive away insects. So those are a couple of the things that I do to take care of insects and pests in the wilderness. I hope that you have found value here, and I hope that this has given you some tips and tricks. It can be difficult to deal with them. If you've got more suggestions, do go and drop them in the comments. I love to hear from you guys. And also check out the social media pages. There's plenty of the Everyday Live Ready stuff on there, and even a hint or two of what's to come to the YouTube channel in future. Also, remember, if you'd like to do online courses, remember to go check out the video links on the Live Ready website, because the online courses are going live, and you can do Live Ready survival skills courses from the comfort of your own home, or even from behind your desk. Now, until the next time, live ready. Hello. Yeah, you good. Hello, doggy. Down here.